Salih Ahmed Islam is a very experienced global expert with more than 25 years of professional experience in internal audit. Textile, iron and steel, petroleum, construction, FMCG, and retail industries are the ones he masters as a leader and role model in internal audit. But not only that, he's one of the experts when it comes to managing the expectations of various stakeholders with diverse cultural backgrounds too. Integrity is not only important to him when it comes to business. Not at all. As a caring father and husband, he wants the best for his loved ones. And as always, when I talk to my guests, I am interested in what is not obvious, what is not written in the curriculum. And I want to learn more about the human who impacts corporate integrity. Let's have a look behind the scenes of Salih's responsibilities and experience when it comes to corporate integrity. I'm glad to have you here, spending the next minutes together.
Corporate integrity, fraud, non-compliance, and cybersecurity. Would you like to understand the root causes, detect threats, and take measurements to protect the most precious assets? As a leader, you need to be prepared and stay actionable in the event of an incident. Sonja Stirnimann talks in her podcast, The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters, to leaders and entrepreneurs who want to have impact, foster corporate integrity, and act as role models. As an international expert for corporate governance and integrity, entrepreneur, and independent board member, she knows the challenges. Let her inspire you.
Welcome back to this new episode of the podcast, The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters. You might be a board member, executive or non-executive, a business professional, a corporate integrity counsel, or on your way there. I'm your mentor and sparring partner when it comes to corporate integrity with impact, founder of Corporate Integrity Concepts and the Corporate Integrity Academy with its leadership circle, with the vision to protect and secure assets, reputation, and actionability, yours and the one of your organization. Why? Because corporate integrity matters to all of us. Listen to the perspectives Salih brings in today. So, hey, Salih, so great to have you here. We already had the possibility to chat a little bit before, which was great. And I said, now we really have to record because otherwise our listeners are missing the most interesting part. So, especially as you know that our conversation, it will focus about you, your experience, your organization, your team. And I think what's always most interesting is how do you lead when it comes to corporate integrity. So thank you very much again to have you here. It's great. And I know we are in different time zones, but I think it's just only a slight difference we have here. And as an expert in internal audit, globally exposed, our listeners and myself are very curious to learn about you. So are you ready to start?
Yeah. Okay, I guess so.
Perfect. So when it comes to your field of expertise and your role, so what exactly is your role right now, and what does corporate integrity play in that, in your current function? Could you give us a little bit of insights about that, what you're doing right now?
Sure. Now I'm a group internal auditor of a big retail company, which is operating in many countries with many brands and many subsidiaries. I'm now locating in Turkey, but for the last 25 years, I was working in different industries, especially in internal audit function. I think nothing is different in our profession. If you change sectors or change organizations or companies, mainly it is the same thing that we are doing because many businesses, they buy some things and they have some processes inside and they sell them. So whatever they buy or whatever they sell, they have the same kind of processes, same kind of, how do you say, progress. So as internal auditors, we evaluate a company's internal controls, including.
And I think what is important, you say it's always the same. I think it's not the same, but what stays the same is your risk, your ability to identify the risk, isn't it? The risks in the processes. And I think internal auditors, for me, you are just, you are so great, and you are such a valuable aspect or valuable sparring partner for board members, for example, because you are the ones who really knows what's going on. Sometimes from the boards, you do not receive all the information you should have from the executive board, but on a non-executive board level, we need to have you out there helping us understanding what's going on, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, you can say that we are the buffers or bumpers of the professions between the middle management and upper management.
Yeah,
because we know the processes which the company operates, and we know who is doing what and how they are doing it. And we know the risks, of course. We try to know them because it's our job to identify them and try to minimize or mitigate those risks. So it changes, of course, the sector by sector, what the company does. But our main job is basically the same, especially if you are not a bank or if you are not in an insurance sector. Private sector like manufacturing companies and retail companies, those type of things, basically the same. What I can say about corporate integrity play in our role as internal auditors, as I said, internal auditors evaluate companies' internal controls, including its corporate governance and the accounting processes. Accounting is one of our main focus areas. But we ensure compliance with laws and regulations and help to maintain accurate and timely financial reporting, of course. And data collection, as newly said.
May I challenge you here? Because I think you do much more, because when it comes to corporate integrity, and this would also be interesting for us to learn, what do you think are the typical situations landing on your desks when it comes to corporate integrity? Because the financial parts, yes, we know about it, but I think, or that's just what I understood with integrity, it's much more than just being compliant, and following rules and regulations. So that corporate integrity has deeper roots. And what do you see there right now in your profession?
Okay, I can tell you that in general terms, the corporate integrity for us is doing the right thing even when there is no one around.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if there is nobody, it's like being honest in your personal life and being honest in professional life. That's all. Yep. It also means owning up your mistakes and remaining accountable. If you do a mistake, if somebody asks you, you accept it. And if the mistake is big, and you are accountable of it. Of course, during my work life in 25 years, there are a lot of examples I witnessed. The typical one.
So would you like to share some of them? Of course, not what actually happens in your firm, not we just talk about the general ones. But I think it would also be interesting, because I know that some of the listeners, sometimes I feel alone and think, oh, it only happens to me. And that's really not the case. It happens to all of us. Also that our integrity is under pressure. So would you like to share some of the examples when your own integrity was under pressure?
I mean, generally, the typical one is dishonest employees. I mean, we categorize, how do you say? For us, there is a mistake, unintentional mistakes and intentional mistakes. Those the one intentional mistakes, we call it dishonest employees do those type of things. Which dishonest things, Mostly this situation is using company assets to their personal gain. It happens a lot, from the bottom level until the top level. Many employees can steal or use the company properties for their own personal gain, creating a breach of trust between them and the employer. For example, I can give you a very simple example. If a company gives you a company car, for example, and tells you that you should use it only for professional purposes when coming from home to work and during your professional trips around it, and you shouldn't use it on your personal vacations and stuff like that. This is the simplest lack of integrity, I can say, or dishonesty people can do, is using those petrol on their personal agenda, I can say.
Absolutely. And
but, this is the simple one.
Absolutely. And it's also funny, when I talk to people and say, hey, how often do they take the paper from the copy machine to home? I think they just use it at home, and it's so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
And they tell me, hey, it doesn't matter because it's not of huge value. But on the other side, it already starts here by not treating the company assets with integrity. So have you been in situations when you, as a person, as a professional, as an internal auditor, when you were under pressure when it comes to integrity, have you been forced to some points where you think, hey, that's my own individual integrity is at risk?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, we witnessed a lot, especially in our rookie days. When I started this position, as internal auditor, I was junior that time. I witnessed a lot of, there are things in your job which you can, for example, in the company, you go to work, but let me rephrase it. Have you ever had a really good friend or even the best friend in your office? I had when I was rookie. I'm sure my office people remember one lunch buddy in particular who worked outside our internal audit department. We were that time stepped out of the office. We had coffee, we had lunch together. We talked about work, life, and kids, other relationships, just about everything else about the. Other than the professional life. The pros are easy to spot. Your best friend at work can enrich your life and probably add years to your profession.
Yes.
You can be happy to go to work, but every relationship, especially in internal audit business, you have to have some boundaries.
Thank you.
So if you cross that line, then you will have trouble.
That's really, really, really a good point. Thank you very much. So
the largest. I'm sorry.
Just go on. Sorry.
Sorry. The largest pressure in our profession is to modify our results. If you audit, for example, I had a friend 15 or 20 years ago when I was working in a company. Finance manager was a friend of mine. We had very good relationship with him, but when I meant to audit him, we had some problems because that time you should have. They are expecting a special treatment from you. So, for example, you should go easy on them. You should, for example, delay their audits on a personal favor, or when interviewing your friends in the work about audit purposes. Sometimes you rely on their statements without looking any supporting evidence, because you trust them and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And these are the natural biases, isn't it? And that's exactly the conflict of interest a lot of people don't see. And it is a conflict of interest doing so. And I think it's also very hard for internal auditors to make friends because they shouldn't have friends. They are in a very they should have friends, but of course not at work, And then they are in a very special situation. And I understand. That's also a discussion I had yesterday. with an internal auditor and saying, hey, that's just part of our job. We have to be independent and we shouldn't be attached to people within the firm, because otherwise we can't do our job as we should do it, isn't it?
I mean, we are all human beings, and we have to have relationships in the organizations which we work for. But sometimes there are. It is very hard to how do you say
separate
it with your personal feelings with your professional feelings. So yes, many internal auditors, or in our profession, many professionals, they set a boundary during their work. Okay, we talk, we had coffee together, we went lunch together, but at some point you should make a stop, because internal audit, I mean, without their saying, sometimes they're afraid what to tell us, what to say around them, around the circumstances, you know.
Absolutely. So having these situations, which are not that easy to manage, and I think you need some kind of experience also to do so. You know, you need to have a specific seniority also to know what's going on in that circumstances. So what would you advise to the next generation of internal auditors when it comes to these kind of conflict of interests? How should they deal with it? And how can you also mentor them? Yep.
Yeah. As I said, we are all human beings. We will definitely have relationships at work. The important thing is here to keep it at professional level. We, as internal auditors, are often not particularly popular with the company, you know. We are not typically perceived the image of everybody. Our relationship with colleagues from other departments or with the senior management, of course, is it shouldn't be too friendly. My only advice, the most important advice to my young colleagues who started this profession newly, is do not violate an important principle of internal auditing, which is objectivity. You don't lose. If you lose your objectivity, then you cannot do your job as an internal auditor. And try to limit your conversations about private topics at work. I mean, it shouldn't be private too much. To maintain the distance from your colleagues in other departments, internal auditor should, for example, try to keep private and professional matters as much as possible. That's the only thing I can give to young internal auditors.
That's a very important one, the objectivity, and it's also the professional skepticism we should keep always, you know, don't be biased on what's going on there, because everybody wants to know. It's just normal that we are biased and we are influenced. We are all social engineered by also by the people we audit. And I think it's very important what you said about the objectivity. So thank you very much. And when you look back now, or also to the future, so what do you expect in that environment, you know, internal audit, corporate integrity, what do you expect from the next few years, I think, when you also look at the regulations? What is your opinion on that right now?
There is a strong tendency in the field of ethics, in the field of ethics in terms of internal audit activities. I mean, ethics and code of conduct now is very popular in our world. In order to have successful corporate integrity setup, there must be standards and controls to ensure by every employee. I mean, you can write procedures, you can write code of conduct, you can write many, how do you say, internal memos.
Policies and regulations,
exactly,
and anything doesn't work,
Exactly. It will be on the files or in the computer only. There are 3 vital internal audit instruments which we achieve to this in our profession. We check 3 vital instruments. One is code of conduct. Of course, it must have. I mean, all the big companies, they have very strict code of conduct. writing which actions are wrong, which actions are right. But a company's code of conduct sets the corporate integrity tone from the top of the. It should set out ethical principles of business and detail great general principles by which officers, management, and all the rookie employees conduct those operations. Standards details the expectations and rules for each of the key corporate integrity areas. Policies and procedures, of course, establish the daily requirements and practices through which corporate integrity issues are implemented, followed, and enforced.
Absolutely.
What can I see in the future? Especially in the marketing business, the brands are very important now for the companies. Their name is very important. So if the corporate integrity is set up very good in the company, it affects the customers, the consumers, the suppliers. It affects everybody. For example, as a consumer, I won't go and buy a product which from a company which has a very bad past about, for example, fraud or child workers or those type of things.
Absolutely.
If I hear them, I won't buy them. So.
It is also the competitive advantage. That's what I see. Also, when we work out at our clients, it is a competitive advantage to have a culture of corporate integrity.
Exactly.
And for me, it's really still underestimated what we could reach with a culture of corporate integrity. And that's exactly what you say. If a code of conduct is not correctly implemented, it's just useless. Because websites and papers, you can put everything on it. But as long as it's not understood by the employees who do the daily work, it's just useless.
Exactly. Yeah. There are, for example, if you say everybody knows about Enron.
Yeah.
We know, especially internal auditors, we know about Enron. When we talk about integrity or corporate integrity, if there is no corporate integrity, companies will fail. Probably not immediately, but probably in the medium term or long term. If you talk about Enron, for example, the downfall of Enron was not only financial misuse or fraud.
No.
Of course, there are those type of things, there were those type of things in that company. But the key of this collapse was not only the fraud itself, but lack of culture, lack of integrity and ethics, those type of things. From top to down,
It all starts there, isn't it?
Exactly.
So thank you very, very much, Salih. And I think we could go on for the next 2 hours or so. So it wasn't a problem to have this conversation. So thank you very, very much for contributing. I think it was so interesting. And maybe we should really have a following episode together. So it was a pleasure to learn from your experience. And I wish you all the best for your future. We stay in contact, of course, as we all do in that field of corporate integrity. And thank you very much. All the best. And I think it was great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me and allowing me to contribute.
This was the episode number 32 of the Human Factor Corporate Integrity Matters, following the motto Corporate Integrity secures and empowers individuals and organizations. Would you like to learn more, meet peers and getting qualified? So visit the website Corporate Integrity Concepts or Corporate Integrity Academy. Or do you think this podcast could be interesting for someone you know? Sharing is caring, and we are always happy to welcome your peers to our community. And if you like this episode, subscribe and don't miss any of the future ones. The show notes are, of course, enriched with relevant information, and your connection via any of the social media channels is highly appreciated and will be answered. Promised. And please do not forget, topics of your interest or interview partners are highly welcome. Just send me a note on any of the channels you know. That's it from my side. I thank you for listening. My name is Sonja Stirnimann and I'm your host. Stay curious, actionable, and a role model. Take care and goodbye.